Time now for our Rants and Raves, starting with Dan.
I have a rant that started out as a rave for the Poynter Institute. Earlier this week, Poynter put out a list of more than 500 unreliable news sites, and it was everything from fake news to hopelessly biased to often wrong, and it seemed like a pretty valuable list. But as the week went on, they came under fire because it seemed like they really hadn't done a very good job of vetting the list. There were a lot of perfectly legitimate sites on there. The tone of the article suggested that advertisers might want to look at this and withdraw their support for these sites. And finally, they yanked the whole thing and said, we're going to hold off until we can do a do-over. It's a valuable, interesting idea. I hope they take another shot at it, but they better get it right in an environment that's as charged as this one.
Good point. All right, Lylah.
So my rave is for Press Freedom Day and for the news organizations. No, it's today.
Oh,
There's still time to celebrate.
Okay.
But a lot of news organizations are putting forth a lot of data about how journalists have been affected over the course of last year, how many have died. I believe it's 99 this year. CNN has some great data. The New York Times made their paywall. They dropped their paywall for 3 days, so everyone has free access to the news. Washington Post has an interesting spot kind of explaining the importance of freedom of the press. And the BBC's got some great stuff, including a really interesting thing on a painter who was jailed for a single painting who started a secret newspaper while in prison.
Wow.
All right, John.
Well, sort of that same vein, Lylah, I have a rant for the dictator of Turkey, President Erdogan. Once again, I believe 3 years in a row, named the most prolific jailer of journalists in the world, and in a world that includes China, North Korea, and Russia. That's quite an impressive accomplishment. And in the meantime, our government has nothing to say about it, won't do anything about it. There you have it.
Yeah, it's really frightening. All right, who's next? Callie.
So I have a qualified rave for something that's supposed to be coming in November called the Black News Channel. Two interesting things about it. It'll be a 24/7, 7-day a week actual news channel, television news channel. Is supposed to be based at Florida A&M University, which would provide students the same kind of opportunity that students at University of Missouri have, because it'll be a real functioning station. But it's owned and being promoted by J.C. Watts. People may remember his name. He's a former congressman from Oklahoma who happens to be African American. So this is, his baby. I mean, I think there's some other monies in there, but he has a lot of his own money. They want to do something like a Univision with real news.
Content?
Well, they really want to have news content. Now, remember, this has been attempted at BET. People find after they get into it often that it's so expensive. So that's why my rave is a little qualified, because it's very expensive. He has some communications companies, J.C. Watts, so I'd hope that he would know that. And it has an opportunity to really be interesting on a number point if you are doing news and not kind of fluffy stuff, which they say they're going to do. So.
Streaming or cable?
I think they're trying to. They may do both. Yeah.
Okay. I hope they do streaming. I'd like to watch it.
Yeah.
All right. Finally tonight, I have a rave for the career of longtime anchorman Tom Ellis, who died this week at the age of 86. I had the pleasure of working with him at Channel 5. Tom was a lot of fun to have in the newsroom. He never took himself all that seriously. He was a wonderful communicator. He loved doing what he did. He'd tell you about that every day. He never had a crossword to anybody. He was a great promoter of young people and their careers. And as they said, he didn't wear the big J journalism on his forehead like so many other people in our business did. But it didn't matter. And he worked at Channel 4, Channel 5, Channel 7. And then at the end, he worked at NECN. And was really disappointed when they let him go back in 2009, because he said to me then, I had him on Greater Boston, he said, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I intend to do something. There's nothing that makes me happier than sitting behind the camera and looking at the folks out there, as he would say, and saying, good evening, here's the news. So, Tom, we'll miss you.